and welcome to the weekly World Climate Change News. I'm Alexandra, and today I will speak about the following. Tokyo Olympics to swelter due to climate change. NASA's Earth System Observatory to tackle climate change. Australian children on strike for the climate. Crops designed to boost CO2 acquisitions. Climate crisis increasingly affecting mental health. Conservation projects impact indigenous lives. Shell loses climate case. So let's get started! Tokyo Olympics to swelter due to climate change. According to a latest report of the British Association for Sustainable Sport, increased temperature levels in Tokyo could pose a threat to athletes in the upcoming Olympic Games, which will take place from July 23rd to August 8th. The report reminded that Tokyo has experienced a 3 times faster temperature rise compared to the world's average since the early 19th. It is also indicated that Japan usually sees its highest annual temperatures in the same period that the Games will take place. NASA's Earth System Observatory to tackle climate change. A new Earth System Observatory will be designed by NASA to address climate change in a more efficient way. The satellites would be uniquely designed to get crucial data. Through this data, the new observatory is expected to provide valuable information about Earth's climate system, giving a chance to improve agricultural processes, prevent forest fires, and increase protection from potential natural disasters. Australian children on strike for the climate. Thousands of Australian children left school last week to protest against climate change. Australia has warmed by 1.4 degrees Celsius on average since 1910s, and the students have joined together to have their voices heard on the matter. Protesters are calling for no new coal or oil and gas projects, at a time when Prime Minister Scott Morrison has instead focused on the country's transition to gas power. Many have criticized Australia's lackluster climate policies, and students have started acting. Crops designed to boost CO2 acquisitions. Researchers used a mathematical model to build a Rubisco proton in crops to increase their yield productivity. Scientists have developed ways to speed up Rubisco's CO2 intake that could potentially help our fight against climate change. Research provides an insight on how Rubisco compartments may have evolved during periods of low CO2 in the Earth's atmosphere, giving us a better understanding of how we expect them to perform in plants. Climate crisis increasingly affecting mental health. Climate change, extreme weather, heat waves, and food insecurity is damaging the mental health of hundreds of millions of people around the globe. Scientists define it as a vicious circle, where climate impacts increase mental health difficulties, leaving people even more vulnerable to further consequences. Poorer mental health has been reported by people affected by floodings in the UK and Thailand, by displacements including in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, and from rural areas into towns after droughts in Australia and Sudan. Conservation projects impact indigenous people. In Thailand, hundreds of indigenous people have been negatively affected by conservation efforts. Conservation projects often lack consultation and leave the indigenous communities unprotected. The protection of lands overlaps with indigenous ancestral lands, leading to their displacement and eviction. For this reason, in spite of their importance to mitigate climate change, conservation measures must take into account the human rights of indigenous people living in the protected areas. Shell loses climate case. Royal Dutch Shell was ordered by the Dutch court to slash its emissions radically and to speed up its current policies on climate change and divestment, a ruling that could have far-reaching consequences for the global fossil fuel industry. The company expects to appeal the ruling, which urges a 45% cut by 2030, a reprimand for Shell's 20% pledge by 2050. The case against Shell was brought by the local environmental group Milieu Defensi, which accused the company of violating human rights by not adhering to the Paris Agreement. Thank you for watching. This was Alexandra for the Weekly World Climate Change News. I hope you find this interesting, and if you do, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and stay green!